What do you want? You can have. Put your heart in my hand. I've been waiting for the right man. We've come too far by faith. We come too far by faith. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Baby, come into my life. We don't have a lot of time. Hoping we can get it right. I can tell your dog to lie. Come on in. You can dream in color. Don't you listen to the naysayer. Set the bar high as a tower. We come to. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight as we celebrate our 2022 Impact Award winners. My name is Felicia Davis Blakely, and I have the honor of serving as President and CEO of Chicago Foundation for Women. Before I continue, I want to share some housekeeping notes. Our presenters and honorees will be spotlighted throughout the event to ensure everyone is able to see and hear tonight's performance. We love seeing your faces, but we ask that you please mute yourselves throughout the program so we can more easily hear all of tonight's honorees and presenters. Closed captioning is available, so please enable it if needed. Though we are celebrating in community virtually, this event is being broadcast from the land we call Chicago, on the traditional homelands of the people of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa, as well as the Menominee, Miami, and Ho-Chunk nations. We acknowledge and honor the original people of the land and the Native people who remain on this land today. Thank you to our generous sponsors, Carol Prenz and John Hart, the Jessica Fund, Deloitte, First Midwest Bank, Good Heart Work Smart Foundation, Marcy Love, Jerry Newton and David Weinberg, and Julia Stash, and the many more who have helped to make this event possible. You can find a complete list of our sponsors on our website. Our world continues to be impacted by COVID-19. And as we enter the third year of this crisis, and as we witness international turmoil continue overseas and across the globe, I'd like for us to pause for a moment of silence in recognition of the millions of lives impacted by these compounded crises. Thank you. The pandemic has highlighted the inequities we have been fighting for a long time as an organization, as a community. Women have overwhelmingly been the most impacted, with over 1 million women yet to return to the workforce as of January this year. In response, CFW launched our She-Covery initiative in September of 21, which is a commitment from the foundation to identify, uplift, fund, advocate for, and support a more equitable system to ensure women and their families emerge from the pandemic stronger than before. Tonight's honorees have been on the front lines during this pandemic, using their resources, telling the stories, uplifting the communities with innovative tools and ideas to remain connected to the communities they serve, and continuing to thrive despite the challenges they faced. Tonight is a celebration for those and other individuals continuing to hold our communities together. We celebrate the accomplishments of individuals and organizations as leaders, vanguards, movers and shakers, making herstory. Well, there is one history maker tonight. They have had an impact in their communities, revolutionized sectors, changed lives, and created space for people to be themselves. Welcome to the 2022 Impact Awards. It is an honor to uplift the good in our communities, thanks to the dedicated people who are changing lives, changing systems, and working to create an equitable society. You know, at CFW, we believe that when we invest in women and girls, we invest in stronger families, communities, and infinite potential. To date, we have invested over $43 million in solutions to the most pressing issues for women, girls, trans, and gender non-binary individuals. Among these, economic insecurity, violence, and access to healthcare. Tonight's honorees represent the range of strategies we must apply to achieve gender and racial equity in our lifetime. They are change agents using advocacy, storytelling, resources, networks, lived experiences, collective organizing, and shared voices as tools for change. Your support and investment powers some of the work of CFW's grantee partners, some of whom are represented by tonight's honorees. And it is an honor to share this night of celebration with all of you present tonight. And I want to acknowledge those joining us here today that may hear triggering language in some of the topics we're about to share. And I welcome you to take care of yourself in any way that you need to, including stepping away if needed and returning in a few moments. The challenging job of selecting this year's Impact Awards honorees went to the selection committee led by my friend Mike Strutmanis, Vice President of Civic Engagement at the Obama Foundation. A movement builder and ESG leader, Mike leads civic engagement, community affairs, the My Brothers Keeper Alliance, and strategic partnerships for the Obama Foundation. In addition to the external strategy for the foundation, Mike is an internal leader and the executive sponsor of the foundation's organizational culture working group, focusing on diversity, equity, anti-racism, innovation, stewardship, and accountability. Mike has built and executed the foundation's place-based impact strategy here in Chicago, leveraging the foundation's capital and programmatic investment, which includes the Obama Presidential Center. And we were lucky to have him lead our selection committee. Please welcome Mike Strutmanis.
Hello, that was great. Thank you. What a great introduction. Look, before I get started, I just want to point out something. I'm not a woman. Don't identify as a woman. So I am here as a guest, and it is a gift to be here, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you. And just on behalf of the selection committee, I'll offer my welcome to the virtual Impact Awards celebration for 2022. The selection committee, really with all of their time, all of their energy, had a challenge in picking tonight's honorees from a fantastic group of nominees. And so I just want to take a moment to recognize and shout them out and thank them. You know, we had Danielle Bell, who's professor of integrated marketing communications at the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University. Von Brodsky, who is the manager of Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program at Meta. Janice Feinberg, the president and CEO of the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation. Stephanie Morimoto, owner and CEO of Asutra. Angela Putnam, SVP and Chief Accounting Officer at First Midwest, and Jonita Wilson, Chief Diversity Officer at Discover Financial Services. It was a high-powered group. As you can imagine, they approached this with the same level of intensity and excellence they approach everything else. And I really would love for you to join me in thanking them and thanking them for choosing such a phenomenal group of honorees. So thank you so much to the selection committee. Tonight's exemplary honorees and those that are nominated are on a mission to provide the tools and support women need to live up to their potential, creating safer, healthier, and more vibrant communities for all of us. And tonight's honorees are just a true inspiration. The work they each do is difficult, but I think I speak for, in fact, I know I speak for the rest of the selection committee when I say I just learned so much about the honorees, their work and their impact. I feel like a better person having learned about the work. I'm more inspired, more hopeful having heard about their work. And so if we could give them a big round of applause, I'm gonna clap for our honorees because they are incredible. And we'll get a chance to hear from all of them shortly, right? I'd say not only is CFW honored to celebrate these leaders today with the 2022 Impact Award, but we should also recognize that it's backing up this work with strategic investments. The vital work led by Siri, Bertha, Zahara, Dr. Inger, Stephanie, and Lakeisha is funded in part by grants from the Chicago Foundation for Women and the support of its community, including its giving councils and circles. So let's take a look. We have an honoree introduction video, which we'd love for you to see.
I want to be the kind of ancestor who encourages, engages, educates, uplifts, and enlightens the next generation to cross the bridge that I'm helping to build for a sustainable future for all.
I want to be an ancestor who's cultivated hundreds of community organizers. I hope my organizing values and practices will still live on even without me.
No matter who we are or what we have been through, I want to be an ancestor who reminds us of the visionaries and one of the most powerful forces of liberation, change, and ending the corruption and the racism.
What kind of an ancestor would I be? You know, I guess my daughter and her children are going to maybe someday find my Wikipedia entry or Google search me, and the first many results that come up are going to involve a man I'd rather not be associated with. And certainly, I wish 68 women whose names I know had not had their lives ruined by this man. I'd prefer those searches to turn up that I celebrated the power of music to change people for the better, and through those people to change the world for the better, and I was kind.
I want to be the type of ancestor that is remembered for breaking the cycles of alcohol and substance abuse, breaking the cycle of violence against women and molestation amongst children. I want to be remembered as the ancestor that reinforces values like freedom, faith, integrity, education, patience, compassion, and lastly, self-love.
I hope to be an ancestor who inspires future generations and who has left the world a better place through my service to others.
I want to be an ancestor that is a whispering ear in the time of need.
The Mom Project has a goal to directly elevate 10,000 women of color by providing full scholarships for her to upskill with highly sought-after certifications.
Girls Like Me Project hopes to reconnect legions of Black girls to their inherent power through storytelling, historical context, research, training, and thought leadership.
I think that's wonderful. I'll turn it over to the fearless leader of the Chicago Foundation for Women to introduce our very first awardee.
We're only in year 3 and we still have these things. Mike, thank you so much. I want to say to everyone, because you will not know this, that question about what type of ancestor you will be is my favorite question to ask. And I had the opportunity to ask that very question to our luncheon speaker last year, who was none other than the fantastic Stacey Abrams. And it is my very favorite, so I'm so happy. But I also wanted to let everybody in. This is a world premiere of this video, and it is beautiful and lush. And I want to thank the videographers and the musicians who made it possible. All right, so I'll get on with it. This year's Outstanding Corporate Citizen Award is presented to the Mom Project for its commitment to Chicago's support of women and girls' economic development. The Mom Project was founded in 2016 when founder Allison Robinson envisioned a world where women would not have to choose between parenthood and their careers. The Mom Project is committed to helping women remain active in the workforce at every stage of their lives and work with employers committed to designing and supporting a better workplace for mothers everywhere. Tonight, we are joined by Chandra Saunders, the director of RISE, a project of the Mom Project. Chandra is a diversity, equity, and inclusion champion on a mission to create economic opportunities for moms and women of color. As director for RISE, the inaugural initiative from the Mom Project's non-for-profit arm, momproject.org, her goal is to empower moms and women of color through transformative upskilling programs. And now let's hear from Chandra.
Hi, thank you so much for this award. It means so much to us at the Mom Project. As we all know, women, more specifically women of color, are in the fight of our lives as we run the risk of unraveling decades worth of workplace equality progress. Stopping this dramatic COVID-19 backslide in workplace equality requires immediate action to shape the potential state, the future state of the workplace and the economy. As you know, women were 1.8 times more likely than men to have lost their jobs due to COVID-19, and women of color were 2 times as likely to have lost their jobs compared to other populations. All signs indicate, as we all know, that women of color, mothers, women were most disproportionately impacted from COVID-19. So we are on a mission at the Mom Project to create $1 billion in economic opportunities for those who have been underrepresented, traditionally left out of spaces. And we are on a mission now more than ever to help make this workplace, a better place for us all. Thank you.
I'm just telling you to buckle up, y'all, because each one of these honorees is going to be that inspiring. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chandra. Suri Lee is the National Campaign and Membership Director of the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum. The forum works to build a movement for social, political, and structural change for Asian American and Pacific Islander women and girls. Born and raised in Chicago, Suri's experiences of racial, gender, and class oppression have directly shaped her understanding of themselves, community, and world. As a national campaign and membership director of the forum, she builds power with Asian American and Pacific Islander communities to advance reproductive justice across the United States. Suri, congratulations. Let's hear from you. Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to CFW and also the selection committee. And I also just have so much gratitude to all the Asian American and Pacific Islander women leaders who have nurtured me as a community organizer, including Christine Tandilia, Sangin Chonmara, and then Vivian Zhou, who've trusted my leadership, including our knock-off members, and then who supported me every step of the way, even when it was a little bit out of her comfort zone, so my mom. First, I want to acknowledge that today marks 1 year since the brutal tragedy that took the lives of 6 Asian women. The Atlanta spa shootings was a critical moment for the AAPI community, and today reminds me of why I do this work. So I really see myself as an extension and reflection of my community. As much as I try to show up for my community also shows up for me tenfold. And I lead my life with the value of collective liberation at my core, that until we are all free, no one is free. And so this is a value that my community has instilled in me, and this is a value that I hope to impart to others. And so I began organizing as a passionate but very angry 18-year-old, raising awareness of immigrant healthcare access. And now 5 years later, I'm continuing to build a movement across this specific issue and other issues related to reproductive justice on the national level with NAPOF. But this time I'm cultivating the community organizers and leaders who are driving this work on the ground. So at NAPOF, I have the honor of building the pipeline of developing API women organizers and community leaders across the country and building on the practices and instilling the values that our movement elders have imparted to us. And so these amazing organizers and leaders are paving the way for movement work and victories that are rooted in racial and gender justice for our communities. And so really, now more than ever, we really need to be investing in community organizing and local and state-based work to protect and defend our rights, including abortion access. And so I'm so proud and humbled to be leading with NAPOF at this critical juncture. And I hope that you all can support me and continue to support our work here at NAPOF as well.
Siri, it's just wonderful. The work that you do, NAPOF, CFW has been a longtime supporter of NAPOF and collective liberation. We are not free until all of us are free. Thank you for the work that you do every day. Now, this year, CFW is awarding its first ever Sophia Award to Connie Lindsay, a dear friend. Connie is a former executive vice president at Northern Trust. The Sophia Award is inspired by the legacy of one of Chicago Foundation for Women's founding mothers, the late Lucia Woods Lindley, and her Sophia Fund, which ultimately helped establish the foundation. This award honors those who have made significant philanthropic investments of their time, resources to fuel organizations serving women and girls. Throughout her Northern Trust career, Connie held a number of leadership roles, including her most recent position as head of corporate social responsibility, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and community investments and development. She is deeply committed to women and girls' education and economic empowerment. She is a former national board president of Girl Scouts of the USA and serves on several civic and charitable boards. Connie has served as a mentor to many women and girls of color and is truly a trailblazer deserving of this inaugural award. Let's hear from Connie.
Good evening, and thank you so much for this inaugural Sophia Award. I want to also congratulate my fellow honorees this evening. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be able to speak with you this evening and to be recognized for what I consider my purpose and my mission in life. I'm a true believer that compassion has no limit and kindness has no enemy. And throughout my life growing up, there were so many people who wrote on the tablet of my heart to empower me, to let me know that I mattered. And so that is and will continue to be the work that I do. I'm honored to receive this and will continue in the fight, in demanding, in requiring, and investing in true equity and equality for women, specifically for women of color and those who are left out and left behind. I often say it is difficult to negotiate with a tiger when your head is in its mouth. And so what I see as my work and any power that I might have is removing those barriers and those obstacles, doing it in a spirit of love, but in the indefatigable pursuit that when we free, uplift, and celebrate another sister, we are freeing, uplifting, and celebrating all of us. So thank you again. I'm extremely grateful to be recognized this evening.
Connie, you are endlessly inspiring. And I had an argument the other day with a professional in this city who had the temerity to say that you would help them more than I felt like you would help me. So I don't know who won that argument, but you're precious to us all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next honoree is Bertha Escamilla, an activist working with mamas, activating movements for abolition and solidarity, and campaigned to free incarcerated survivors of police torture, CFIST. She will receive this year's Founders Award. This award recognizes an individual's lifetime achievements, which have made significant contributions towards the advancement of women and girls for 30 years or more. Bertha started her journey as a social justice warrior fighting for her son's freedom from a wrongful arrest and false confession in 1993. She continues to fight for his exoneration today. Bertha has conducted critical grassroots research documenting cases of police torture since 1993. This research has been used to inform so much work, including letters to the United Nations. Bertha Escamilla's passion for changing the prison system continues to drive so many of our efforts today. Bertha, congratulations, and let's hear from you.
Mike, unfortunately, I think Bertha dropped off. So Felicia, can you introduce the next honoree? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks, Mike. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge those and a reminder for those joining us today that they may hear triggering language in some topics that we're about to share. So I welcome you to take care of yourself as you need, including step away and returning when you're ready. Receiving this year's inaugural Beacon Award, we have Jem Derogatis, a journalist, associate professor of instruction with the Department of English and Creative Writing at Columbia College, Chicago, and co-host one of my favorite shows of Sound Opinions, a weekly show about music syndicated nationally on public radio and via podcasts. He will receive the first ever Beacon Award. The Beacon Award honors a leader whose published work has highlighted the issues facing women and girls in the Chicago region and enabled their voices to be heard. Jim was the Chicago Sun-Times music critic for 15 years, where he broke the story of sexual assault allegations against R. Kelly. Jim pursued the story for 18 years, conducting an investigation that would inspire the Lifetime docuseries Surviving R. Kelly. Jim published his work on the investigation in his book, Soulless: The Case Against R. Kelly. He lives on the northwest side of Chicago with his wife, and he mentioned earlier about his daughter and her children and what they may learn and hear about him later. But so let's bring Jim into the room.
Thank you so much, Felicia. I'm so glad you mentioned Sound Opinions. I wish we could be talking instead about Jamila Woods or Adia Victoria and celebrating music as a force to do good. I am so not worthy, to quote Wayne's World, of this award, and in the company that I am tonight with these other honorees. I simply listened when so many women did the bravest thing that any woman could do, which is to come forward to this fat white rock critic who was not a part of their community and trust me to tell their stories. And you know, Tiffany and Gerhonda and Lizette and Dominique and Patrice and Azrael and Aaliyah Dana Houghton, and a total of 68 women I got to know over 18 years. Why did it take 18 years? I will never be able to answer that. But and what does justice look like? I don't know, but there was at least an end to the story. I was teaching my freshman first year class at Columbia, Music and Media in Chicago. We were talking about gospel music. We were talking about, you know, the whole range, Albertina Walker and up to the staple singers, and starting with the Reverend Thomas A. Dorsey. And my phone explodes and convicted on 18 counts. And no one in that class had been born when Ignition Remix was even released. And they got the news too, and they applauded. And it should have been for the women, not for me, because they're the ones who did this. But thank you for honoring me.
Thank you, Jim. I am so appreciative that you're here. And I also will just say I have a son who's a musician who dropped out of Columbia College, and I wish to pursue his music career. I don't know whether I want him to stay at Columbia or be a musician. So just, thank you for that, for the guidance for my son. It's such a heavy time. And the work that these honorees are doing is just critical to create the city, the community, and the world that we all want to live in. And I have the honor to introduce another honoree, Zahara Bassett. She's the CEO of Life is Work, LIW, and she's receiving our 2022 Impact Award. LIW is a social services group led by Black and Brown trans women on Chicago's West Side. During the COVID-19 pandemic, LIW highlighted a number of service deficiencies, particularly for transgender and gender non-binary women of color. Zahara is a well-known advocate for transgender human rights, social justice, health equity, and LGBTQAI equality. Zahara has worked for the past 10 years on the local, state, and national levels to improve access to treatment and care for the transgender non-binary communities and HIV positive people, and reduce stigma and discrimination through education, policy advocacy, and visibility. In addition to her work with LIW, she sits on several grassroots boards of directors, advisory boards, and planning committees across the city and across the country. Let's hear from the tireless and incredibly impactful Zahara Bassett.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you all so much for sharing space with me today. And I want to honor my honorees as well. I would not be nowhere without this work, without the incredible people like yourselves, Felicia, and Chicago Foundation for Women, for believing in our mission and our initiatives that we push forward. Thank you for adding us to the sector, intersectionality of being recognized as women. I say that with wholeheartedly that trans women are women. So I thank you for acknowledging that and adding that to you all's marquee. I have to thank my staff and my mentors and everyone else, because I would not be able to do this work without their support and uplifting me and believing in my leadership and my brilliant ideas that I come up with to save our community. And I want to just say, continue to support Black trans-led initiatives. That's the only way we can thrive, and continue to include us in that, in the diversity and inclusion. Do not segregate us. I ask you to recognize us and humanize us as we are. I also would be remiss to take this moment too, if I don't, is to bring attention to a dear loved friend of mine who is currently missing, Elise Mowry. And if anyone happens to see her, hear anything, please contact your local authorities. I know this is not the time for that, but I want to say that because that's on my heart. And thank you all for having me. And this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful display. I'm very honored, and I will continue to push forward for equality for all trans people, specifically Black and Brown trans people.
Zahara, thank you for your tremendous work. And it is always the time and the place to lift up the name of a Black woman who is missing. And if we can get help, I mean, there has been, CFW has really stood up to providing resources for the plague of missing and murdered Black women, as well as trans women in Chicago. And we always have to say their names. And so it's always time and place to do that. So thank you for the work that you do tremendously every day. And we'll try to get one of the staff members will put the information in about, I'm a new Evastonian, and so she's an Evanston resident. And so we'll try to get that information in the chat. All right. So Christina, I'm sorry, should I go back to Bertha now?
Yes, we have someone, representative from Mamas, that has some remarks from Bertha. She wasn't able to join back to the Zoom. So I'm gonna ask them to unmute. So give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Our sincere apologies. We don't know what happened with Bertha's Zoom connection. I'm here representing the voice of Bertha Escamilla, who is an activist with our collective Mamas Activating movements for abolition and solidarity. And Bertha's words that she prepared are, my name is Bertha Escamilla. I'm the mother of police torture survivor Nick Escamilla. My son was kidnapped from our home and taken into custody in 1993. He was forced to make a confession, even though there was no evidence, no weapon, and no witness. He served almost 15 years for a crime he knew nothing about. I'm accepting this award as part of my work with our collective Mamas. I also work with the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Police Repression. I was nominated for this award because I have been collecting research for almost 20 years about the many cases of police torture in Chicago. People say I know more about this issue than most professors who study this topic in the US. The research I collected helped lay the foundation for a major report the Chicago Alliance developed and submitted to the state's attorney's office. It reveals the patterns and practices of torture and wrongful convictions by the hands of CPD detectives and officers, including now over 200 cases involving individuals who have yet to be freed from prison or exonerated. I do this research not only because I support my son and all survivors of police violence, but because, like all mothers, I am a survivor too. The racist policing system in Chicago has devastated the lives of torture survivors and their loved ones, especially the mental and physical health of many Black and Latinx mothers and loved ones of incarcerated individuals. It has devastated our lives socially and financially, physically, and in terms of our mental health. These issues are also much larger than the cops. The prosecutors who are supposed to be looking at the evidence in these cases bend over backwards to keep detectives happy. That's why I am fighting for State's Attorney Kim Foxx to take action. All of the mothers in our group are fighting with me, and we refuse to keep waiting to be reunited with our children or for our kids to be exonerated. I know that the prison system impacts people living inside and outside prison. We mamas don't sleep at night knowing one of our kids could die in a COVID-infested cell. We believe police violence is a feminist reproductive justice issue because it denies women of color the ability to parent, nurture, and love our children. It denies us our motherhood. Our organization is small, but we have a lot of work ahead. We are exhausted, but we keep going. I hope everyone listening today will support us in bringing a feminist and a revolutionary mothering perspective to the struggle to free all incarcerated individuals and all police torture survivors so that we can help free all of us, all of the mothers and all of our children from these chains. Thank you. I'm so honored to be receiving this award and so grateful for this opportunity to represent the work of Mamas Collective.
Thank you so much for bringing Bertha into the space. I had the honor of being on a panel with Bertha a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the One Fair Wage Coalition and the fight to make sure that every worker in Chicago and in the state of Illinois, indeed, have an equitable wage. And her passion and commitment comes through in the letter that you read for us, but certainly comes through whenever you have the opportunity, if you ever have the opportunity, and I hope you all do, to speak to Bertha directly or to see her speak, because she is fierce. And I love the feminist mama perspective because I am a feminist and I'm a mama. And so I really invoked that. I love that she invoked that into the space today. So thank you so much. I now have the honor of introducing our next honoree, Dr. Inger Burnett Ziegler, a licensed clinical psychologist and associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern University. She will receive a 2022 Impact Award. Dr. Inger's scholarly work focuses on the role that social determinants of health play in disparities in mental illness and treatment, particularly in the Black community. Dr. Inger is a fierce advocate for eliminating mental illness stigma and normalizing participation in mental health care. She is actively involved in the community and serves on several nonprofit boards, and I've seen them represent tonight already in the chat, including Thresholds, Chicago High School for the Arts, or Chi Arts, and the African American Legacy of the Chicago Community Trust. And I must say that the African American Legacy Project at the Trust is responsible for helping to steer Reverend Willie Barrow's legacy gift to Chicago Foundation for Women, and we're ever grateful for that. So without further ado, let's hear from Dr. Inger.
Thank you, Felicia. Thank you to the selection committee for the Chicago Foundation for Women and the Chicago Foundation for Women at large. It's such an incredible honor to be here with you today and to be recognized amongst the other honorees. Black women have been showing up, taking care of their families, getting involved in their communities, being leaders in the workplace, doing whatever they need to do to get the job done. But so often they are also silently suffering with stress, anxiety, depression, and trauma. We know that about 8 out of 10 Black women are exposed to a trauma at some point in their lifetimes. However, less than 50% will access the mental health service system. Black women often don't give themselves permission to take care of themselves, and there are numerous cultural, systemic, and societal barriers that prevent Black women from being able to access the mental health service system. As a clinical psychologist, as a professor, as a writer, as an advocate for mental health, I'm trying to do my small part in improving the mental health and wellness of Black women and girls across the city and across the nation. But most importantly, my favorite part of the job is being in community with other women and hearing their stories, holding space for their experiences, and in doing so, letting them know that they are seen, they are heard, and that they are valued. My passion for this work comes from my grandmother, who instilled the principles of service, faith in God, and my worthiness and deservingness of whatever blessings life has for me. My mother, who instilled the principles of humility, gratitude, and still reminds me, don't sweat the small stuff. And the women in Chicago, many of whom are on this call today, for the work that they do, but also the way that they do it, with kindness, with compassion, and with gratitude. I'm so honored to be recognized in this space today, and thank you.
Wow. I am so inspired, and I'm sitting here as I listen to this, thinking about all the women of color in my life who taught me so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Inger, for your work, and congratulations. Whew. We got one more, y'all. Stephanie Daniels Wilson. She's the founder and CEO of the Dreamcatcher Foundation, and she will receive a 2022 Impact Award. Now, the Dreamcatcher Foundation works to prevent the sexual exploitation of at-risk youth and helps them find confidence and stability through education, empowerment, and active prevention. With over 20 years of experience in social services, 10 of those years were specifically focused on women active in the sex trade and affected by substance abuse, addiction, and infectious diseases. Stephanie knew that she needed to take a stand against sexual exploitation after personally observing several cases on the south side of Chicago in Englewood. Stephanie, congratulations, and let's hear from you.
Thank you so much. Oh my, I am so not worthy of this space with all my other honorees. Congratulations to everybody. It's such a pleasure to be in your company. I'm so humbled. I'm so excited. I want to start off by honoring my late husband, who in 2007, when the Dreamcatcher Foundation was only in my heart and in my mind, he was my biggest supporter. He would always tell me, baby, reach for the stars. You might just land on the moon. Well, with this award, I'm getting a little closer to those stars. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, CFW. And again, congratulations to the other honorees. My initial vision for the Dreamcatcher Foundation was to help participants refrain from human trafficking. And that was the only thing that we focused on at the organization, was to offer absence from human trafficking. Well, over the time, we got much, much more than that. And I'm pretty sure it's because of our person-centered approach, combining the practical applications with the clinical applications. So with those two combinations, and our wonderful staff, who are also survivors in this pandemic that we have, because the human trafficking is also a pandemic, we've been able to not only help participants refrain from human trafficking, but we've also been able to offer assistance in helping them catch their dreams. My role in the organization has always been in the background, not the spotlight. Brenda Myers-Powell, who nominated me for this award, is the face of the organization. And I often referred to our relationship as I'm Nabisco and she's Oreo. Well, today, with the help of the Chicago Foundation for Women, I get a little bite of that cookie. So I want to thank you all so much for this award. Thank my staff. Just thank everybody, and thank you guys, and God bless.
Stephanie, congratulations. And I will share this story. I've shared this story. You've heard this before, but I think it's germane to our topic today. Many years ago, I mean, he's 24 now, but when my son was in high school, he was in a pre-journalism program at Columbia College. And they were focusing on human trafficking that year. And as part of the project, he asked if he could go out with Dreamcatchers, to see your work in action. And I guess I'm a permissive parent, because we let that happen. And it had a profound impact on him. And so I think that you are forever linked. You and Brenda and Dreamcatchers are forever linked in our hearts to our family, to my son, and to our family, because they wrote a tremendous white paper that was presented to the governor that year on the impact of this pandemic, as you have said. So thank you so much for your tireless and your really brave and courageous work. And we hope that tonight you get this cookie and lots of other cookies and cakes, and also pies.
Thank you. Thank you so. Thank you.
Next, I have the honor of introducing this year's Willie Taplin Barrow Emerging Leaders Honoree. And as I shared earlier, CFW is home to Willie's Warrior, which is a leadership program really steeped in supporting the leadership of Black women and creating a space for them. And this year's Willie Taplin Barrow Emerging Leaders Award is presented to Girls Like Me Project Inc. And its work of uplifting and advocating for African-American girls. Girls Like Me Project believes that African-American girls can transform into change agents for social good through a strong sense of self-efficacy and awareness. African-American girls are disproportionately targeted by devaluing stereotypes and media messages of misogyny, self-hate, and destructive behavior that adversely normalizes circumstances of poverty and violence. Lakeisha Gray Sewell is a new media relations and strategic communications consultant by trade and a girls advocate by life assignment. An internationally recognized urban girls advocate, a media literacy expert, and speaker. Lakeisha founded Girls Like Me Project Inc. to train girls in media literacy and empower them to navigate beyond negative media stereotypes to become global legacy builders. Under her leadership, Girls Like Me Project Inc. has served more than 700 girls through its transformative programs and events. Let's welcome Lakeisha.
Thank you so much, Felicia. It is always an honor to be in the presence of Chicago Foundation for Women. This is Herstory Month, and so I greet you by giving you honor as the daughter of Stephanie Louise Gray, who is the daughter of Wilda Corrine Thompson Reed, for whom my daughter, Kumaya Corrine Sewell, was named. As she stated, the mission of Girls Like Me is to empower Black girls with the tools that they can critically examine social, cultural, and political ideologies in media. We know that this is the way forward for them to overcome stigma and stereotypes that limit their ambition, limit their way of self-worth. It also has a huge impact on social policy, which then adversely impacts the aspirations and the opportunities that they have. Our work has not always been the most popular or easily understood in the Girls Empowerment Cipher, but our commitment has not ever wavered. And it's been through the progressive philanthropy of Chicago Foundation for Women and its Giving Circles. Special shout out to the Southside Giving Circle for their early support and belief in us. Perhaps the power of media and storytelling hasn't been more demonstrated than in the summer of 2020. When a 17-year-old Black girl, Darnella Frazier, used her phone to record the savage murder of George Floyd, which then activated the world. She is the epitome of what we believe can happen when girls are trained to harness the positive power of media and storytelling. Black girls are the way forward in media storytelling. They will free us all. And in the words of Ida B. Wells, who stated, "People must know before they can act, and there's no educator to compare with the press. We are giving girls the understanding of their power, using the press, using the media to move us all forward." And so we thank you as an emerging leader, giving honor to Reverend Barrow, who I had the honor of sitting beside her and at her feet as she was here to receive personal encouragement and support. This honor is beyond anything I can really express, and I'm so humbled to receive it.
Lakeisha, thank you so much. And we know, I had the honor of working with Reverend Barrow, and we know that she would be very proud and that you are part of a chain and keeping her legacy alive. So thank you for the work that you are doing. Again, thank you and congratulations to Siri, Connie, Bertha, Jim, Sahara, Dr. Inger, Stephanie, Lakeisha, and Chandra for your incredible work. You each are an inspiration to our entire CFW community and to me. CFW is committed to working to attain gender and racial equity in our lifetime, supporting organizations and individuals just like today's honorees that are working tirelessly on the front lines to achieve freedom from violence, economic security, and access to healthcare and information. We cannot do this work alone. The ongoing pandemic has only highlighted the need to work across sectors and industries, both as individuals and as communities. With that being said, I have the distinct pleasure of announcing a special grant to each of the organizations represented among tonight's honorees. CFW will be investing $5,000 each to help continue the incredible and much needed work taking place that you are leading and taking place in our communities. Congratulations to each of you. These grants could not have been possible without the incredible generosity of nearly 3,000 donors that have joined us in our efforts to support women, girls, trans, and gender non-binary individuals in our region. Women continue to be disproportionately impacted either as essential workers, with over 5 million losing jobs or leaving the workforce, those working remotely while completing hundreds of hours of unpaid care work, taking care of their loved ones. Last fiscal year, CFW awarded $3.2 million, our largest investment in a single year to date, through nearly 250 grants, impacting more than 89,000 women, girls, trans, and gender non-binary people in our region. This fiscal year, to drive our Shecovery initiative, we've awarded already $1.3 million in grants to 67 Chicago area organizations, of which 62% are led by women of color. Thank you to those who have already made a gift in support of today's event. If you have not already, I ask that you consider making a gift now in support of an equitable Shecovery and these amazing grantees. Making a gift is super easy. You can just take out your phone. You will see the text to give information on the screen and in the chat, and you simply text CFW to the number 243-725 and make a gift. It's really easy, and I will join you. I don't know if I can't see your phones, but you can see my phone. All right. So thank you again for your continued support of CFW and our amazing network of grantee partners, because without your support, our grant making to organizations, and really without your voice, the work that we do and our ability to really connect with grassroots organizations like those represented today, and supporting women across the Chicago region would not be possible. So I invite you to visit shecovery.com to learn more about our Shecovery initiative and read the report that serves as a foundational document for our approach to addressing the pandemic's impact on women. Now, let's welcome Mike and all of our outstanding honorees to hear a bit more from them about their work and personal outlook through a moderated conversation. We made it through, y'all. We have time for a moderated conversation. So everybody's here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm not quite done making my donation, so I'm going to put my phone aside and moderate this conversation. But the rest of y'all, I expect you to multitask and get it done. So listen, the CFW Impact Awards are celebrated in March for a reason. It's to coincide with Women's Her Story Month. And this is a month to highlight not only the contribution of the leaders like yourselves, we all see it as an opportunity to highlight the many challenges that are faced by women and girls. And so, Chandra, are you with me? There you are. Yeah, we see the news, we see the statistics, we know the personal anecdotes. Women are leaving the workforce in record numbers. And this is going to impact them. This is going to impact women, their families, and we know their communities. And so I guess I'd love for you to share with the audience how the Mom Project is supporting women planning to come back to work.
As I stated earlier, over 2 million women left the workforce, right? And it's going to take a lot for us to get back into the workforce because we were laid off, or we had to quit because we had to take care of our kids, right? And we couldn't go to work and take care of our kids and be home and, play the role of a teacher. We had to make that choice. And so it's hard to get back into the workforce, especially getting back and pivoting into something new, right? So we have put an amazing program together, which is what I've created. It's called RISE. Is it a transformative upskilling program? And it's not just about the certificate that these ladies are able to get. It's about the community that we are providing, because lots of these women have lost their husbands due to COVID and are left home taking care of their kids. They've lost their jobs. They've lost a sense of self-worth. They've lost a lot, right? So it's not just the certificate that is going to get them that leg up, right? So it's the community of support that we have. It is the upskilling certification that we are providing. It is the confidence prep the confidence building, the interview prep. We're connecting them with mentors at Fortune 100 companies such as Apple, such as Google, such as NASDAQ. We're giving them experience and the exposure that they would not have had otherwise. And we are already seeing amazing progress of women who have been out of the workforce for a while due to the pandemic and are getting back in and pivoting and making amazing success and really have achieved a different level, a higher level of economic opportunity just because of our program. So we are there on the front lines fighting for women every day, connecting them with companies who value diversity, who value mothers, who value working parents, and are fighting for flexibility as well, because moms need flexibility. Women need, actually, we all need flexibility at this point, right? We do, we all need it. But again, COVID is still not all the way, it's not over. There's a lot of uncertainty. And so we need, for women to get back, we need workplaces that are flexible, that are empathetic, who understand and want to bring moms in and support them, bring women of color in and support them. So yes, we have our upskilling program, we have a community, we have a support, we have a mentorship program, but we are also connecting with companies that are actually taking a chance in hiring these ladies to give them the economic access and the opportunities that they need the most.
I love it. You know, Connie, you listen to Chandra talk, and you know the innovation and the intelligence and the passion and the skill set is all there. And I just think about, you know, what you've done throughout your career and how you've just supported countless organizations and leaders like Chandra. And so you're a donor, you're an advocate, you're a thought partner. And not only have you done it through your professional responsibilities, but you also have personally championed thousands of women through mentoring and thousands more through your advocacy. And so, you know, for those of us in this time of challenge and struggle, who might be, you know, either losing hope or losing energy for the fight, talk to us about how your longevity has come through. You know, where does that desire come from? And how and why is this work, of all the things you could be doing, how's this work? Why is this work of supporting women and girls so important to you?
Thank you for that question, Michael. And you're right, I was listening to Chandra and it made me smile, because that kind of fierce clarity and the willingness to courageously call a thing, that's what we have to do. And so there is a gospel song that says, I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. And that song, Michael, was a song I learned long ago as a little girl. So my true north is rooted in my faith. And so my faith then conditions my relationships with other people and calls and causes me then to be courageous. As a little girl growing up in inner city Milwaukee, my zip code would have dictated that I wouldn't be anywhere near the places that I've been in my life. And I never forgot. I never forgot the troop leader from my Girl Scout troop in the basement of my church who said to me, Connie Lindsay, you matter. You are not what is the matter. That I had experienced and witnessed suicide and homicide and all sides of racism, sexism, and classism. And so I purposed in my heart, with the help of the village that raised me, that I would be a part of the solution. And I don't feel tired, Michael, because I know to whom much is given, much is required. So whether it was in the boardroom of corporate America, or in a small room in a church on the South Side where a baby girl said to me, Miss Connie, I don't know if I want to join Girl Scouts or join a gang. Tell me the difference. And I knew then that it was my responsibility to speak a word, to help children and girls and women flourish, not just survive, but how do we flourish? How are we able then to connect with one another? I know that, you know, I'm not a self-made person. I'm a part of everybody who loved, protected, and cared for me and kept me even in the storm. And so for me, I won't get tired. I will give out, as they say, before I give in. The work is not done. For every Black or brown woman who is denied access, or who, because of where she lives or how she looks, there are people who practice the soft bigotry of low expectations. I am there to tell you, as my sister, as my friend, you are not alone. You matter, and it can be done. What gives me hope? What gives me hope, Mike, is that I know that kindness is my superpower. And as I said early on, it has no enemy. And so I will continue to go on. And I encourage everybody as we support the work of the Chicago Foundation for Women and all of the amazing stories that we've heard tonight. Listen, sit with them, let it marinate in your spirit. There is an African proverb that says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping in a closed room with a mosquito. Each of us can do something because the Creator doesn't make junk and the Creator made you. So I encourage you to do whatever it is, wherever you are, with whatever you have to make a difference. Let's love each other. Let's continue on this journey. Let's support each other. And in this liminal space of no longer and not yet, let us rise together as women, as men, as transgender, whatever and however we identify, because we are all human. And that human condition requires us to be better and to support and love one another. So thank you for that question.
That is a word. Thank you. And I think the really interesting thing that we have here with this group of honorees and the selection committee, and as we looked at it, we saw that we had leaders who were operating kind of at all levels of power and at all levels of engagement. And you know, Sarah, you're organizing. Right, you're organizing on the ground. You're a community organizer. You know, I know one myself at the Obama Foundation. So you know, I honor that task, that role. The issues that you're working on, you know, Stop Parental Notification Act, developing a Chicago Reproductive Justice Commission. These are issues that are complicated and are challenging. And I want you to talk to us about, you know, on the ground where you're working, what have you seen change? You know, we know what the challenges are. I'd love it if you can see some of the impactful changes that you've seen through the work that you've done, making something that is too often invisible visible.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for that question. And, you know, kind of related to what Connie was saying, I do think that, you know, hope is such a powerful force, and something that I always live by is from the Black abolitionist organizer, Mariame Kaba, who said that hope is a discipline. And so that's what really kind of carries me on. And so, as many of us know, as all of us know, actually, structural change takes a very long time to make happen. It can take anywhere from a few years to several generations. And so oftentimes I try to stay grounded by reminding myself that while I might not see the fruits of my labor during my lifetime, what I've built will continue to live on. And then even then, I always imagine and demand more, because I truly believe that another world is possible. In many ways, we are already living in it because we're living our values. And at the same time, I believe that one of the most impactful changes that we can see, particularly within our lifetimes, is the personal transformation that people undergo. So in the Repeal P&A campaign, I got to work with many Asian American and Pacific Islander youth, parents, and elders on this campaign, which repealed Illinois' Parental Notification of Abortion Act in October of 2021, and instead advocate for youth abortion access and shifting narratives around young people's bodily autonomy. And so this is the first parental notification of abortion law that has been repealed in the country at a critical time when, with the potential fall of Roe v. Wade just around the corner. So in this campaign, one question we've always returned to was, how do we build intergenerational trust? And for a lot of folks, this might seem like a very impossible question to answer due to the hurt that they may have experienced when engaging with people from other generations, or due to the assumptions that they've made based on what dominant narratives have told us. But in order for us to advocate for youth bodily autonomy, it was a question that we had to address head on. And so we had to push out of our comfort zones. So I got to work with leaders who never thought they would be able to, you know, canvass South Asian aunties on Devon to support youth abortion access, because they couldn't even imagine just talking to their moms about their sexual or reproductive health. But they did. And they even brought their moms to language cafes where we tackle these issues in English and also in their native tongues, bridging both generational and language gaps. And then I also had leaders who were terrified of public speaking. So they started out with other forms of expression, such as art and social media, until they grew more comfortable to eventually command a room and also rally a crowd. Because they have been told their entire lives that their opinions were insignificant. And through this campaign, they became the experts and were able to get back their power. And so I think that structural change is important because it materially changes our lives. Now, young people don't have to face immense legal and logistical barriers to get an abortion. And also the story for how we get there opens our eyes to see what is possible and to push our imaginations further. So if DNA was repealed in Illinois, it can be done in other states. And if someone who has always felt powerless is able to change even just one person's mind, they'll become empowered to continue building power and eventually help win structural change for all of us.
That's it. That's it. Jim, you got to hang on with me here, brother. As you know, someone who identifies as a man listening to these words, you know, it is, don't leave me. That's all. Just don't leave me here by myself. I have to ask, I hear about your persistent reporting. And I think that listening to the stories of these young women, my understanding is at least that your reporting on those stories really helped other young women come forward to share their own stories. And I think that, beyond the results of it, which the accountability, the justice, far too delayed. Talk to me about the storytelling process and trying to bring these stories again, from the shadows into the light. I know you've been a reporter for some time, but what surprised you? And or what were some of the challenges that we may not know about? Please, share some of that.
When I started ringing doorbells on the South and West Side with Abden Palish, he calls himself an Irish Polish leprechaun, and I'm me. Okay, we were not of the community. We were asking difficult questions about a man who was deeply beloved. And what I found that surprised me is that everyone wanted to tell this story. And what they said is, thank you for listening. No one has cared. Come in, sit down, and we'll tell. Often in way greater detail than I ever wanted to know. And what sickens me, victim number one, Anita Hill is testifying at the same time in 1991 on Capitol Hill. A Black woman is not believed, and her abuser sits on the Supreme Court overturning these laws we were just talking about. And it's coming to a head, the story for me, for the fourth or fifth time when Dr. Christine Blasey Ford is testifying on Capitol Hill and not being believed, and her abuser now sits on the Supreme Court. Women in general are not believed, but what I heard more than any other phrase is, who's going to listen to me? I'm a Black girl. I don't matter. And I couldn't understand why a 14 or 15-year-old Black girl mattered less than a frequent phrase I heard too, one white girl in Winnetka, and this all would have been over. Maybe, maybe not. We've seen Evanston lifeguards and Chicago lifeguards and the Olympic gymnast team, for God's sake. This is a singular story in a lot of ways. As a student of music history, there's nobody in the history of music where men have been treating women very badly since way before the Bobby Soxers up to last week. Nobody's ever been convicted of this magnitude of crime over 30 years. But, I will never forgive this city that I love, but also hate, for the schools failed these girls, the churches failed these girls, the courts failed these girls. Say his name, Judge Vincent Gaughan. He's the same guy who presided over Laquan McDonald killing, right? And let that killer out, after a couple of months. The rest of the press failed. it was me and Abden and Mary Mitchell for far too long alone. Chicago failed these girls, and these girls were victimized by a very high profile man. What about all the girls being victimized by family members, bus drivers? It's a sad, sad, sad legacy, and we've got to start listening to Black girls. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
So I hadn't thought about before that.
I mean, the applause. I'm having trouble looking at the applause because I'm almost dizzy right now. So thank you for that. And I'm going to skip around a little bit here and go to Stephanie, because I think that your work kind of feeds onto this, and I just want to talk about the way out that you've created for so many women. And you've just helped hundreds of women in our city, in our area, escape human sex trafficking. And you have this, and I when you gave your comments, I heard it in your voice. You have this vision of eliminating human sex trafficking. This bold vision, and yet you're in the middle of the struggle right now. So tell us, what needs to change that eliminating human sex trafficking can become a reality in our lifetime? I'm not hearing you.
How about now?
I got you. Sorry, I skipped around a little bit, but I'm going back around for those I missed. I just wanted to ask this question.
I was sickened by Jim's comments about Black girls and women of color not being believed, because this is what we see every day. This is what we see on a regular basis. Our girls, women, participants talking about the abusers and the atrocities against them and simply not being believed. So their position is, well, why say anything? No one's going to believe me anyway. And the work we do is exhausting. It's exhausting because we have a very high recidivism rate. It's extremely high. Change is hard, and it takes a long time. We've got ladies who have been with us since they were in the 7th grade. And I'm going to talk about some of the successes, because I don't like to talk about, and I don't like to call them failures. I like to talk of them as not yetters. Because at our organization, you never age out. Once you become a Dreamcatcher participant, you're always a Dreamcatcher participant. And we've got ladies, again, who have been with us since high school, grammar school, and they have went on to get masters. They have went on to start businesses. They have went on to start families and lead productive lives, refraining from active human sex trafficking.
Yes.
But on the downside, and that's the side that we must talk about, because we have a lot of challenges. We are faced with huge challenges because, again, we see the same women over and over, year after year. I was on the van. Well, I've had the pleasure of not being on the van as much as I used to be because we have a staff now. But every now and then I'll go on outreach with the organization, and I see some of the same ladies. I see some of the same ladies, and this is year after year doing the same exact thing. Well, one day, my hope and my prayer is that a seed is going to be planted, and that they'll get it, and they'll ask us for help. And that has happened. That has happened. We started with one program, and that was the outreach program. That's the foundation of our organization. That's what we started with. Now we have 3 programs. We have our drop-in center. We have of course, our stellar outreach program, and we have education and advocacy. And I do direct service still in that particular arena, because the education part, we're targeting youth, ladies who are right now I'm servicing some ladies. One is 11 years old. So we've got 11 through 17. And the reason that I hone in on this particular population is because not that I can't reach the older population, but when they're young, I got a chance. I got a chance to go there and mold that thinking, change that thinking. I've got a chance to give them access to some things that they think are not possible for them because they're of certain neighborhoods or of certain challenges, certain mental health challenges that they have. So when you ask me, how are we doing it? We're doing it with a lot of patience, a lot of love, a lot of kindness, and a lot of assertiveness.
I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna move to gonna move to another honoree. I didn't want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was taking too long. Okay.
No, you weren't. You weren't. No. I'm here in service. I'm here in
This is
service
what I
and in
do.
love. So no.
You cut me off.
No, if there's something else you want to say, you say it. I'm here in service and in love.
No, I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And I think, something you said about the vision that you had, I want to go back to Zahara. You're on the West Side, right? And you got to have a vision for the West Side for you to do this work. And it's got to be a big vision. So tell me about it. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what is that community? What does your community look like?
I thank you so much, Mike, for this question. I was asked this question recently in another panel, and I see a trans district. I'll be honest with you. I see a full-scale trans district with full wraparound needle exchange, shelter, transitional housing, permanent housing, shelters, full-scale facility building where entrepreneurs can come and grow businesses, incubators. I see culturally around Chicago how segregated we are and how this, even though we constantly try to do structural changes in areas and what do they call this? Gentrification. We still find our ways to still be segregated in ways. And I see that trans does not have a place in this part of this, in a sector in Chicago. And I sit and fight for that sector to happen. I sit and fight for this to be all operated by trans operated clinics, grocery stores, laundromats, you name it. I feel that trans presence should be in anything that we go in any store we walk into, in any industry, that we feel that we want to work in. And that's why I saw life is work is what we do here. It's life is work. We offer a full scale workforce development, housing, medical assessment, linkage to care, prep, you name it. And I tell people is that you have to work for what you want. I want to say Miss, I forget her name here. Connie said earlier, my zip code would have made me where I didn't belong certain places. But I've been afforded as a Black trans woman to travel the world and be in countries that people like myself didn't even belong and couldn't even get in possibly without getting to the resources that I needed beforehand. You know what I'm saying? So when I see that, I see my people being liberated in spaces and living flourishingly, happy, thriving economically, getting to zero. We're not seeing the number so high amongst Black trans women who was HIV positive, poverty. That's what my fight is. My fight is to see us owning land and wealth, as we see for Black people, and we see, that everyone say, oh, well, we want generational wealth. Well, we want it too. And I want to be a part of that, creating that generational wealth for us.
Well, that's an inspiring vision. I love it. Now I have to do this because we're about 4 minutes to 7. And with this crowd, I know y'all got stuff to do. I was just gonna get a bite to eat, but y'all are busy. So I'm gonna ask for 1 to 2 minutes from Dr. Inger, from Lakeisha, with apologies and respect. Dr. Inger, help us connect these dots, right? We've heard this conversation. We know what you've said and how you've advocated for mental health and wellness for Black women and girls. Give us one thing, or there has to be two things that we as a community can do that to make sure that our women and girls can access the support and the services that they need?
I want to quickly just say that I'm really inspired and encouraged hearing the comments of the other panelists. And when I listen to what everyone has shared today, I really see that thread of mental health throughout. In the work that I do, addressing barriers to mental health services, I look at that from an individual, from a cultural, and from a systemic perspective. But as it pertains to the comment that you've put forth tonight, I really want to hone in on the individual part, because I think that that's where we as citizens, as sisters, as community members can do the work every day in thinking about how we talk about mental health casually, our own mental health, how we recognize how mental health challenges show up in ourselves, knowing what the signs and symptoms of stress and depression look like, being able to talk about that, being able to reach out for support, being able to accept the support that others might be able to offer to us, being able to hold each other in safe space. And I think all of this conversation tonight, everyone speaking from their various perspectives, contributes to creating that safe space and normalizing, discussions around trauma, which has come up numerous times today. And it takes that safe space for people to be able to not only speak their stories about their suffering, but also to take those initial steps toward getting help. But we also have to pay attention to each other. I think so often we are kind of caught up in wanting to respect each other's privacy, not wanting to cross the line, not wanting to be invasive, but we are each other's keeper. We are a community that, shares our joys as well as our suffering. And it's up to us to be able to check on each other and lend that hand, and again, be able to receive the hand that's extended to each other. And just to say, I see you, I love you, I'm here for you, and let me know how I can be in support. Thanks again for having me.
That's beautiful. Lakeisha, bring us home. We've heard so much, so many people are doing this kind of the direct work, they're doing all of the work that needs to be done, and you're focusing on storytelling and representation. Give us the thesis. Why do we need to pay attention to storytelling? Hit us with it, with the thesis of it, and bring us home this wonderful panel.
Absolutely, and I'll do the best I can in 2 minutes. I will say that when I first started doing this work, you could Google the word beautiful and not see a Black face of a Black girl or woman. That was 12 years ago. And then just today, I Googled the word mood to do a check-in with the girls today. You Google the word mood and there'll be children who pop up, but none of them will be Black children. And so representation matters because history books are determined by the history that we document. The media, the stories that are told today influences what is told beyond today. So representation interrupts the dominant narratives that is full of misogyny, that place Black women and Black girls at the bottom, and that really serves to oppress and repress the humanity of Black girls and Black women. And so we know that through erasure, symbolic annihilation is real. Where will Black girls or Black women be if they are not put into the spotlight now, if their voices are not amplified, if they continue to be erased? The erasure in media and in storytelling also erases the self-worth of Black girls. I always tell people that what happens to us today, if a girl is not healed today, we see it every day in our lives. Women 40, 50, 60, 70-year-olds, women who go to their graves not believing that they are worthy, women who are raising children, who are writing policy, who are teaching in classrooms, who are therapists, have not felt themselves worthy or seen themselves in powerful places. And so that is the reason that representation matters. It's not a frivolous conversation. It really does impact how a woman shows up in the world for herself and for others, and what she contributes to this world.
That was it. That was it. I can't say my first and last name in 2 minutes. And you just told us how to change the world. Felicia, our fearless leader, Thank you so much for giving me the honor of being a part of this. My heart is full, and I'll turn this over to you.
Mike, thank you so much for leading us in this insightful conversation. You did it. Thank you so much, and congratulations again to Siri, Connie, Bertha, Jem, Zahara, Dr. Inger, Stephanie, Lakeisha, and Chandra. Thank you to our attendees tonight for joining us in this celebration and engaging in this conversation. Even the tough topics, we have to talk about those subjects because those are the real lived experiences of women in our community, women and girls in our community. Thank you again to our sponsors, Carol Prenz and John Hart, the Jessica Fund housed here at CFW, Deloitte, First Midwest Bank, Good Hard Work Smart Foundation, Marcy Love, Jerry Newton, and David Weinberg, and Julia Stash. Our complete list of sponsors is available on our website. The leaders celebrated tonight are doing the hard work of holding and uplifting our communities. Please continue to support them in their work. If you want to keep the conversation going with us, we invite you to consider joining us for the in-person small celebration of this event on March 31st at the Chicago History Museum. Tickets and sponsorships are available for purchase and to support the work at cfw.org. I encourage you to celebrate your wins, uplift, and look out for each other. We continue to live through a pandemic and international turmoil. Please continue to do what you can to care for yourselves and others. My mother taught me we are responsible to and for each other. I hope tonight's event has inspired you, as it has me, to think about the impact that you make, that you each can make and have in your communities, and the importance of staying on course. Please take care of yourselves and have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.